Welcome to KPMG in India Tech Talks, where we decode the future one conversation at a time. From AI and cybersecurity to self-driving cars and the future of work, we are diving deep into the trends, tech, and trailblazers that's shaping what's next. Here's a fun fact. Today's modern car uses hundreds of silicon chips and has more IP addresses than most homes. You got to wonder, are these the cars or computers on wheels? My name is 𝗘𝗽𝗀𝗀 and I'm excited to kick off a fascinating discussion featuring Manu Saale, the visionary India head of Mercedes-Benz R&D India. He'll be in conversation with my colleague Abhishek Gupta, unpacking how R&D, emerging technologies, and global capability centers in India are fueling the growth of global auto industry. So buckle up, plug in, and join us as we navigate the tech highway in this episode of Tech Talks by KPMG in India.
Welcome to Tech Talk, no script, no filters. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Manu Saale, MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz Research and Development Center of India. We are going to deep dive into how GCCs are making global impact through AI, through digital transformation, so on and so forth. If you are a student, tech enthusiast, or an automotive professional who wants to know what's going around in automotive industry, the cutting edge innovations, sit back, relax, enjoy the podcast. We will leave you informed and motivated. Manu, welcome to Tech Talk. We are going to deep dive into the world of automotive, AI, innovation, and quite a lot today. Before we get into that world of automotive, just wanted to understand from you a little bit about yourself. How was the childhood? How were you as a kid? Are there any inspirations which you take from your childhood which shaped your leadership style today?
Morning, Abhishek, and thank you so much for inviting me to KPMG, to the Tech Talk. Pleasure to be here. I've grown up here in town, very much a Bangalorean. Growing up in the 70s and 80s of Bangalore comes with a bit of grit and, kind of hardships that were part of just the ecosystem and the infrastructure at that time. And I think going through that certainly has shaped a large part of leadership. The hunger to go through the race and succeed, I think, still lingers in me quite a lot. There's, of course, a lot of family influence of hard work, values, and others. But I really think growing up in those times were part of the success for a lot of us from that generation.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be part of that as well.
So while the part of the world where I grew up, which is Bangalore and Karnataka, has played a key role, were there any early career moves or the risk or the bets which you took which shaped your career as where you are, or you were simply influenced by the cars?
Well, come to think of it, yes. There were lots of things, in the early stages of my career that I'm happy to share, that I think plays a big part in what I do today. First on my list would be simply the openness to just embrace, accept all challenges that came my way. I continue to do that. If it's technical, right, getting into the industry, learning new things, but also from just experiences. I think I've embraced every opportunity that came to me, local, international, and just collected all the experiences that came along with it. I often describe this when I talk to my friends. I tell them it's important to be a sponge, just to absorb everything that comes your way. And the earlier you do it in your career, I think the better it is for the future, because that serves you good in difficult times, in tough times.
Right. So these are the experiments which you did early in the career, which have helped you in a way, reflecting on the challenges of today's, in a way.
Absolutely. I think, I remember taking every opportunity to get cross-border experiences, for example, to take on challenging projects.
That's an interesting one, cross-border. So I know you can talk good German. Was that also part of that early career?
Absolutely was. And within weeks of starting my career, actually, in a German automotive tier 1. I just deep dived into language as well. I just, gave it my everything. Went and picked up a foreign language. Soon found myself in the continent there, working, dealing with documents, talking to people, learning in a foreign language. So it helped me a lot.
So that's one skill definitely I believe can make you stand apart from many others. But when we talk about German as a culture or German as a country, the first thing which comes to mind is automotive. What is one thing which you think is making Mercedes-Benz apart from its competitor? What is one feature which you love the most?
Well, since the invention of the automobile in 1886, Mercedes-Benz invented the car. Since then, the brand has stood for several things: luxury,
Right.
Innovation. At any point in time, technically the most advanced for whatever was available at that time. Defining customer experiences. And the brand continues to do so. 136 years later, Mercedes-Benz still stands for those values that it started with. We have a tagline that says the best or nothing. And I think that defines both Mercedes-Benz and German engineering at its best. Today's Mercedes-Benz continues to wow the customers, if it's our foray into autonomous driving, our foray into in-cabin AI features, to name a few. I think there's always a wow when you get into a Mercedes.
Right. Since, as you mentioned about automobile, the origination of automobile, I still remember that documentary where the lady is riding the two wheels and borrowing the fuel in the villages. From there till now, if you look at the transition of automobile has moved from mechanical to electronics to software. And India, where we have our MBRDI as a global capability hub, is known for its software capabilities. What are the few things which you are doing from India which are going to make a bigger impact on the product overall?
So very true that the automotive has gone through such a big transformation from just being a piece of mechanical engineering at its best to today, software-defined vehicle, as you call it. We're still celebrating the launch of the CLA. Rome just saw last week a huge launch that was very successful for us. And for Mercedes-Benz, it's, let's say, a future software-defined vehicle on display over the CLA. That's our new MMA architecture, the Mercedes modular architecture. Okay. And you truly say the software car has arrived on the scene with that car. And I think that's the best way we can define the role a distant GCC can play for a German-centric automobile, right? Like a Mercedes-Benz. It's the best of digital engineering, digital India, coming together with the finest of mechanical that you just spoke of, Germany, Mercedes-Benz. And I think it's the marriage of these two minds that's actually supporting us as a company and defines what we do at MBRDI as a GCC for Mercedes-Benz.
Right.
The whole tailwinds, digital engineering tailwinds that the product needs, that the company needs, is coming out of India.
Okay.
We have offices in Pune and in Bangalore. And I think that's the Indian digital, say, talent landscape capability that we often talk about, that we are banking on, that we are, taking advantage of in our quest to redefine the car. And I think it's the coming together of these two that you just so much see from the outside, right? The car is full of software-defined features. We all know that. We're talking about hyperconnectivity. We're talking about autonomous scaling new heights. We're talking about EV. We're talking about software that defines the design of the car, right? The manufacturing of the car, right? And you've seen everything that we spoke. There's that keyword software that repeats so much, digital that repeats so much. And I think that's the role of India for us. That's where India takes center stage and supports the company.
Were there any challenges? Because ultimately the software need to work with hardware. And whenever we claim that India is the software capital of the world, we can do lots of innovation, but then comes a challenge from some of the onshore teams which says until unless you know the hardware, the software cannot work, right? If yes, then how did you overcome those challenges to deliver world-class products from India?
It's true. You're touching upon a very, very important aspect of how GCCs actually scale up.
Yes.
But more than that, how they mature, right, over time. GCCs have, the classic pitfall trap for a GCC would be to stay back office of the company, right? And if you want to avoid that, and if you want to scale that barrier and go ahead, for us in the automotive space, it's the car, the physical hardware. There's an equivalent, I'm sure, in other industries as well. Healthcare, automotive, aerospace, right? Each of them have their own, barrier to cross.
Right.
For us, it's been actually moving beyond supporting the company, on extended engineering, to moving on to think about systems engineering, to think about the product in its entirety,
Mm-hmm.
to think of the same end customer as a global T. Right. We're selling a car, it's a B2C business. We're selling a car to a customer, and they headquarters, and we think of the same customer when we are, solving problems, when we're defining the product, and we're designing the new feature. And I think that's actually not just one moment, it's actually a journey that you take as a GCC. But when it's well done, when you spend time meaningfully in that phase, I think you kind of catapult yourself as a GCC from being a mere back office,
Right,
to defining and supporting the product engineering at its next level. This comes with a lot of barriers and difficulties, challenges.
Right.
Access to hardware, you spoke about it yourself. Availability of infrastructure in the city here, the ecosystem. Call it a test track for an automotive company. Call it access to test benches.
Mm-hmm.
Call it driving around test cars in the city. Talk about talent in India being able to think about products and systems. So leadership in a GCC has to support some of these building blocks over time to push a center from A to B.
Right.
And I think we've been doing it successfully, especially over the last decade.
That's a very important point, Manu, as you said about the ownership and the maturity of the talent. And what is one area within the software or hardware or anything where India can truly lead globally? What is that one skill set?
I think the golden moment right now for engineering out of India has been the role of software.
Right.
In defining the product, designing the product, in designing customer experiences and functionalities. Right. 3 decades ago, when I started my career, I think software was making its first foray into automotive.
Right.
Few lines of handwritten code, few thousands of lines.
I heard S-Class has more line of codes than an Android phone.
That's very true, and it's grown,
Beyond that
in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Right. But coming back, the first few hundred lines of code in a engine control unit is how the automotive industry actually woke up to software. Between Euro 2 and 3, or BS2 and 3 here in town, when you could no longer just control emissions with mechanical fuel injection,
right,
and wanted software assistance for timing and other things, is when automotive woke up to software, right? The engine control unit and the first lines of code.
Didn't know about that.
From there to today, with over 100 control units in a car, with millions of lines of code, both handwritten, auto-generated, right? FOSS, assistance of free and open source software out there, modules from the OEM, from tier ones, from automotive suppliers. It's a complex system today, and I think that's the defining moment,
right?
And I think the industry is kind of ready at a inflection point, playing to India's strengths, and India's strength has been digital,
right?
And in 9 out of 10 cases that you're going to pick up, including our own here, you're far away from headquarters, you're far away from the markets in so many places, Not every GCC here can boast of a local market even. Think about it. Right? So they are kind of dreaming about a customer in another part of the world.
Right.
Dreaming about market conditions in another part of the world.
Exactly.
And the one thing that's assisting them to still continue to develop a good product is actually the digital nature of our business.
Right.
And we've been celebrating, India's digital strengths over the decades. And to your question, I think this is the time when India can literally play a role in every product out there. We see automotive up close, but from the industry and friends from the industry, I'm closely observing the role India and their GCCs are playing in healthcare, in aerospace, in business transformation everywhere. So I think it's a golden moment for us.
So we heard software is going to eat the world, and now we are getting the news that AI is going to eat the software. Is there a future possibility of totally AI-defined car, AI-run car, and autonomous cars which will be controlled by AI? If yes, how far are we from there?
Well, the industry is right now at a point where we are truly discovering the power of AI. Right? We are, using AI assistance, both in defining the car, designing it, in so many of the customer-facing features and functions, but also in production, sales after sales, right? Where there's so much of data, there's so many possibilities to use artificial intelligence to make sense of this complex, space that we are in. The customers who buy a Mercedes today can already experience, for example, in the CLA that was recently launched, there is a 𝗘𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀 virtual assistant. With multiple LLMs behind it. And there's an agent that picks the right LLM depending on what question the customer asks. So for the customer, it's seamless. It's a wow experience. You could be communicating with, hey, Mercedes, to navigate yourself, find the weather, talk to it, trying to get some assistance on what you want to do, where you want to go next. And the agent behind decides which of the LLMs is best suited to support your action. Right? So here's one example where assisted AI inside the cabin today can bring customer experience to an absolutely next level. Now think about the engineering behind the car, which is also probably for our listeners who fans of mechanical engineering, product design, or production. There's so much of data available owing to the years of design and development that we have. I do sometimes call my engineers and ask them if the next system, subsystem, component can just come out of a Gen AI-based tool, and we're there already, right? It's about using existing data, teaching an algorithm, how a cross member, for example, should look like. What are the parameters that go into its safety, its design criticality, other parameters that you'd normally do in a CAD CAE loop, and take some assistance of a Gen AI to actually give you a design, right? Auto industry desperately needs to crash timelines, development timelines. We'd all love to get new cars faster out there on the showcases for customers to pick up. So I think development is also now just discovering the power of AI when it comes to designing the car. And then there's the world of manufacturing and customer experience we spoke about. So I think you slowly see it coming into different aspects of business.
Right.
We still believe it's AI assisted. There's still that human element that's going in today, but future is exciting.
There are multiple other aspects of AI, Manu, which are going to impact the overall value chain of an automotive. One is the customer experience part, interaction, engagement. Second is the design part, which you spoke about. And then the middle is the complete manufacturing part. Are there any use cases of AI which you think are larger than life, or which are going to make a larger impact than we thought of? Because today the world is sold over on generative AI, but then there is visual AI, which can actually inspect a component running at a very high speed. Then there are component of AI which can do a voice analytics in the car when the car is running and say, hey, this component is gonna perhaps create a problem in near future, right? So are there any use cases of AI which are beyond generative AI?
There are very exciting use cases of AI from both within R&D, but also for customers to experience. Today, with advanced microphones, even in a high-end phone, high-end mobile phone, there are apps that can pick up sounds in a vehicle
and signals and convert that into anomalies.
Under the hood, for example, at a service station. Point your camera under the hood at components and make sense out of it, because it's assisted by a huge database behind of drawings, databases, service and repair manuals that can actually help a technician, let's say, diagnose a car that's come in for service in record quick time. We have some very, very advanced POCs and experiments going in that space that's going to help our worldwide service network in the future. For example, look at diagnosing a Mercedes faster, more accurate, benefiting the company and the customer, right? Because your turnaround times are going to change. Within the car, and you spoke about vision, within the car with vision-based AI, with a camera that's, of course, with all data protection guidelines adhered to, looking at the driver today and the co-passenger. Soon you can extend the cameras to other passengers in the car, in the second and the third row when necessary. And to be able to tell the computer behind so many things. If you're attentive on the road, fatigue was already part of the use case. Your gaze, and to see where your gaze is, right? Electronically, the car knows where you're headed, what speed you're in, what lane you're in. If your gaze is not matching to where the car is headed, then we have a problem, right? Depending on an obstruction that could be in front of you, we could decide to brake, to decelerate, right? And so many other actions that you could take, warn the driver, right? So cameras are being used in more than one intelligent ways. Already 2 years ago, we brought in gesture recognition with a car. We didn't want you to learn a sign language, rather do what you do naturally to, open your sunroof, close it back, gesture to up the volume or down the volume on the head unit in your car. And the camera picked up your gestures on your hand, no matter what color, if you're wearing a glove, if you have rings and watches on your hands or, other symbols, it worked seamlessly. So there's everything about this technology is in some way magic, both for R&D behind the scenes and for the customers who own the cars.
So Manu, we started this talk from Bangalore. We looked into the software. We looked into the GCC. We looked at the AI. The only topic which is left now, which is connecting all of these dots in Bangalore, is startups. And I know you work closely with lots of startups to mentor them, guide them, also give them the right problem statements. How is MBRDI engaging with the startups ecosystem? And if yes, if someone wants to come and showcase you their talent or their value proposition, how can they do that?
We introduced the startup Autobahn in India 2018 already. Since then, we've been engaging with automotive startups, tech startups in so many ways, because it's the marriage of technology and automotive,
right?
And therefore, it takes a lot for you to spot some of these shining stars that are working on tech,
right?
And kind of marry their ideas into the automotive space. And Startup Autobahn has been our platform since 2018 already, since its launch, trying to work with Indian startups that could solve global problems for us. We have another exciting phase at MBRDI, and that's our intrapreneurship program. So on one hand, you get to exchange and engage with external startups. On the other hand, if you have a bright idea that deserves to go out and have a startup of your own, we encourage our employees to do that, to work on the innovations. We have one successful venture already out there with charging, and a second one that's just ready to spread wings and go out. This kind of has a big rub-off effect on innovation culture within the company. You get to interact with the best minds outside, and then
bring kind of in, and also hive off some of those innovative ideas into ventures. And that, as you rightly mentioned about the charging infra, which is the biggest challenge for us to adopt EVs as vehicles or the way of commuting. That brings us to talk about sustainability. the automotive industry has always been targeting much better carbon credit score. How is a GCC how is a GCC enabling the global sustainability goals or also reducing the carbon footprint of the company? Is there a way possible where we can go beyond tracking by the way of innovating the new ways of new line of cars and all?
Absolutely. At Mercedes-Benz, with our quest to go carbon neutral with our fleet, but also with our production and entire supply chain, sustainability at its heart is an engineer's challenge. It's an engineer's problem. So the problem statement is on every mechanical and software engineer's desk. And it's for leadership to translate for all of them how each one of them can contribute to this big, Mercedes-Benz worldwide goal that we have. Now, when I say sustainability has become an engineer's problem statement, take a mechanical engineer at MBRDI. Her or his task today would be to, do a cradle to grave of every component subsystem in the car, materials that are used, where is it coming from, how are they manufactured, how are they sourced, to, how you sundown some of these components at the end of life. And in the quest, try to see if there are alternatives, how they're produced, how they're sourced, right? Do the alternatives stand the same mechanical loads and pressures as today's one do? Right. So if you look at a mechanical engineer's life today, sure, he is just sitting in front of the computer and thinking about a greener version of a Mercedes in its physical form, right? It's green steel, it's leather alternatives, it's the replacements for plastics inside, right? It's so much of engineering at heart when you want to turn this product into green. Now, the software engineers in the company, which are, by the way, thousands in number, they come in with their own discussions about writing greener code, right? Thinking about, how the AI in the car and the compute power in the car could be optimized. Right. How we could simply turn software and tech to analyze, the product in various new ways. So I think we've made sustainability successfully an engineer's problem statement and are going about redesigning the car. This is when it comes to product design. Manufacturing, needless to say, have their own challenges on how to refine the entire scope of manufacturing, how they look at a greener alternative for energy sources and so on and so forth. You spoke about EV. EV comes with its own set of challenges. Right. If it's battery, it's chemistry, it's alternatives, on how a BMS is, maximizing the juice out of a battery, how's the regeneration going on, right? So you see, when you connect the dots successfully within an R&D landscape, sustainability turns into a very, very interesting challenge. Right. And I find myself talking sustainability to freshmen who join us meanwhile, compared to the days you and I started our careers, where we were learning how to code. Today's engineers are coming out to say the problem statement for the next, a decade on their hands would be to turn a product that we all designed into a greener version, a greener alternative. Right. And I think that comes with it's very interesting and comes with a fresh set of challenges.
I believe you are one of the finest executives in Bangalore today who have worked extensively on this in this corridor. Germany as a corridor for India, if you look at historically, has a very strong bond with Pune as a city because it's the automotive hub of India. What are some of the things which you would like our viewers to know about to work with Germany, right? What is the work culture? How can they adopt themselves to work a lot more better with this corridor?
Great question. And I think if you're an engineer, doesn't matter what branch, Germany should be a dream destination to learn from, to work with, right? Has been that for more than 3 decades now.
Exactly.
I was super excited to start my career with the German company. I'm super excited after 3 decades to be associated with the German company.
You are the SME today for us in the industry who can talk about this with full authority.
Thank you so much. I think it's coming together of digital India and a manufacturing giant like Germany is marriage made in heaven.
Exactly.
Right? This had to happen, right? And the people who could enable it are ambassadors like you and me, right? People working in the industry, people especially working for German brands,
Right.
have the added responsibilities of bringing these two together. Germany, for whatever reason, has excelled in manufacturing, in products, automotive anyway.
It doesn't need any validation.
And I think 2-3 decades ago, when they started to realize that they needed partners who could bring in digital tailwinds,
right?
It sounds simple, but it goes beyond what is just seen as digital. It goes in kind of understanding each other, building the trust that is so much necessary,
Right.
working with the transparency that is necessary, protecting IP between the two locations.
Right.
There's so much more than just meets the eye, what meets the eye.
Exactly.
And I think it's a combination of these things that makes you successful when you work with a German partner.
Right.
If it's a GCC with its own headquarters, if it's a supplier that I've seen working with a German customer, I think these are some of the boxes that you have to tick before you can call the relationship successful.
Right.
There's huge potential in India to do it. It's two great democratic nations that can come together. I've had the pleasure, the privilege to interact with the politics on both sides. Both people are very, very happy to work with each other, looking for more opportunities to engage with each other. So I would always say, Indo-German collaboration will go to newer heights in the next years. There's so much more to do together.
Okay. So some of our viewers have shared some questions for you. And those are one rapid fire question, which I wanted to do with you. And these are one word answer.
Sure.
One feature you wish every Mercedes had?
I think intelligent interiors fascinates me today. It's in a few of our cars, but I'd love to see it in every Mercedes. Gesturing within the car, having an intuitive Mercedes. So for one word, I'd say intelligent interior.
Perfect. A book every automotive leader should read?
Well, that's a tough one. I'd say there's so much out there to read and learn. I'm right now learning and reading from a book called How the World Thinks. It's an exciting book.
How the World Thinks. Yeah.
How the World Thinks. Julian is talking a lot about your worldview and how it changes you as a leader. So automotive or not, I think every leader should take up a copy soon.
There is some viewer who wants to put you on the spot. He says, will AI fully replace human engineering in automotive R&D?
AI is certainly going to assist automotive R&D in very, very advanced forms in the years to come. But a Mercedes is also about emotions. It's about the touch. It's about the design, the language that's assisting it. I think there's always going to be that element of human engineering that we're going to bring in. But look out for very, very advanced AI assistance in engineering.
Which is one technology which will impact automotive industry the most in coming future?
I think there's a lot going on with technology right now. At the cutting edge, we are inspired by what quantum can do to automotive. Simply because the math around the compute is so complex.
What are the quantum use cases for automotive industry?
Well, the entire simulation space, right? The entire manufacturing space, the entire material space that we're talking about, and the digital models behind today are running, linear math,
right?
And we're going to be very inspired by what quantum, but even before that, quantum-inspired algorithms.
Yeah, I'm aware about one of the dialogue which you have with one of the startup in this space, and they spoke about simulation at great length.
So true.
So your bet is on quantum. Okay, great. If the students are listening to this podcast, what is one skill or what is one capability they should build in themselves today to be a lot more impactful employee or a lot more impactful contributor to automotive industry?
I still, for all our student friends out there, I think falling in love with the industry that you work on, mobility as a space, talking about, the the customer experiences, thinking of the big picture is so important to be successful in the automotive industry. The bigger you dream, I think, the bigger you can get, right? Both with your own career, but also the company and the brand that you work for. I think it's the size of the dream that matters.
If you had to predict the future of automotive technology in the world, what would it be in one word?
Seamless.
Final question. Will we ever see a fully AI designed, AI manufactured and AI driven Mercedes-Benz?
It's the emotion behind a Mercedes that I still want to refer to and say, there's always a Mercedes engineer who's putting her or his heart and soul into what the customer experiences. So advanced AI assistance, but trust on the Mercedes.
Trust the Mercedes. Great. With that, thanks a lot. We will definitely make sure that this knowledge which we imparted today will reach out to the maximum audience, and it is gonna add an impactful journey, or it's gonna make their journey a lot more impactful for the country as well as the automotive industry.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you so much.